message from Bree. 30 books in 30 days? I think we got this. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and yesterday I embarked on a journey. My friend here on BookTube, Bree from Four Paws in a Books, messaged me and said, do you want to do 30 and 30 with me? I did 28 and 28 with Bree last February, and it was difficult. It was really, really hard. And with everything going on that I have now, read-alongs, Wheel of Time, chunky books, there is just no way I can do 30 books in 30 days. Unless I do manga. One of my goals for this year was to read more manga. So I was talking to Bree and I was like, you know what? I'm down. I'm going to do it. But I'm going to do it with a twist. I'm going to read 30 manga in 30 days and I'm going to take you along with me for the next 30 days. So yesterday on March 16th, I started my journey of 30 manga in 30 days. The first manga I read was Welcome to the Ballroom Volume 1. This is ballroom dancing manga. I really do love ballroom dancing shows. I watch Dancing with the Stars. I watch So You Think You Can Dance, which isn't ballroom dancing, but it is dancing. And I really do enjoy watching those. So when I saw this at the library, I was like, I think I might like dancing manga. And I did. I gave this 4 stars. In this manga, we follow Totoro, and Totoro really wants to be good at something. He's a high school student, and he just feels like he hasn't really found what he's good at, what his passion is. And he really wants to know. And one day after school, he's going home, and he is followed by bullies and is getting kind of harassed by these bullies when this gentleman comes out of nowhere and kind of helps him get away. This gentleman happens to be a famous ballroom dancer and takes him to the studio in which he trains. Totoro is opened up to a world of dance and finds out that he really wants to dance and really wants to be good at dancing. He ends up going to some ballroom dancing competitions to just watch. He starts to take lessons. And that's really all we see in the first book, is him learning how to dance and watching some of his fellow classmates, fellow people at the dance studio participate in dancing competitions. My favorite part of this book, though, was the art style. Looking at the dance competitions and how they were drawn was just so beautifully done. And that was by far my favorite part of this book, was the drawing, but I did enjoy the story, and I do think I'm going to continue with this manga series at some point. Not necessarily in this 30 days, but potentially. I have no idea what manga I'm going to be reading over the next 30 days. I have some planned out, but not all of it yet. So we'll see just kind of as I update you every day or every couple of days, depending on if I'm switching manga series or if I'm staying in the same series. I'll chat with you and let you know how it goes. But so far, we're 1 for 1, and we're starting strong with a 4-star manga. For the last few days, I have been working on Pokemon Journeys Volume 1, 2, and 3 for the 30 manga in 30 days. And I ended up giving them 5 stars, 4.5 stars, and 4 stars respectively. I really am enjoying this manga series. I'm definitely going to be continuing. Obviously, I gave them all above 4 stars. And I think that is kind of stemming back to the point of why I love retellings and things of that nature as well. I love to just like have a reread while also having a brand new story. I remember getting up every Sunday morning and watching the new Pokemon episodes. So like, nostalgia. That's what this was. We follow Ash and his friends and Pikachu and all the Pokemon as they go to different cities, catching different Pokemon, doing Pokemon battles. If you loved Pokemon growing up, I highly recommend picking these up. They're really, really fun. And the reason I actually already was thinking of reading these was because of Pokemon. Pokemon made me think of Pokemon, and obviously I kind of wanted to dip in to my childhood favorites and read a couple of stories from Ash and Pikachu. Yesterday I read I Am a Cat Barista, Volume 1. This was so cute, so lovely. I really did love this manga and definitely will be continuing. I keep saying that. I'm going to start so many manga series during this 30 and 30. So many. This follows obviously a cat barista who works at a cat cafe. This cafe can only be found though by people who need it. And there is no menu. The cat makes you what it knows you need. And I really love that concept because anyone who has a little furry creature will know that animals are so intuitive to their humans and what their humans need and the emotional support their humans need. And that is what this barista is giving to the patrons who stumble upon this cafe. And each chapter follows a different patron who stumbles into the cafe and gets what they need. 4 stars. This was my first dip into cat manga, and it definitely will not be my last.
Staying up till midnight. I got no complaints, nothing doesn't feel right.
Over the last few days, I have been reading The Ascendance of a Bookworm manga. I read volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. You would have seen the first 2 volumes in B-roll, and now I'm checking in because I'm moving on to something different. In the first book, we find a woman who is crushed to death by her books. She loves books. The books fall on her. She's crushed to death. When she wakes up, she's in the body of a little girl named Mine, and Mine is in kind of like a fantasy world or an alternate world, where a lot of things that our previous character knew about, this world doesn't have. Mine is also a fairly sickly little girl, so we have a lot of things going on with this illness that Mine seems to have, which as of the 3rd book, I only know a tiny bit about. We're still learning. Mine, obviously, being a previous book lover, still remembers being a book lover in her previous life. Mine just wants to have some books. She just wants to read the books. She just wants to have books, but books are very expensive and only for nobles. She is from a poorer family and cannot afford to get books. So Mine decides to make her own books, but she can't even get paper. It's quite a challenge to get to the point of having books. And as of the 3rd manga, I have not even reached it yet. Most of the first 2 were trying to make ways of making paper, kind of following different ancient civilizations, the Egyptians, etc., in how they made paper, and trying to recreate it from what Mine remembered from books in her past life. I really thought I was going to love this manga. It's about a bookworm. It's a book about books. I was really expecting to love this, which is why I gave it 3 volumes in the hope that I would. But I don't. I found it kind of boring to watch her make paper for so long. So I gave the first 2 volumes 3 stars, and this one actually got a 2.5 because I think I was just really done with it by this point, which is why I'm checking in with you, because I need to switch up into a different series of manga and try a few others and just put this series aside and realize it's not necessarily for me, which is shocking because it's a book about books. You think I would have loved it. I'm really shocked by this.
Every time you call me, I don't want to keep you waiting. Why don't you hold me?
So friends, I'm not going to lie to you. I got a little bit behind on 30 and 30 for 30 and 30 manga. So yesterday I actually went through and finished a couple of manga just to kind of do a little bit of catch up. I read the 3rd volume of Dinosaur Sanctuary, and I actually read the first 2 prior to this. So I'm going to talk about all 3 books right now. This follows a ton of zoologists as they are at a dinosaur sanctuary. It feels very Jurassic Park-like, but obviously the dinosaurs are under control. This particular dinosaur sanctuary kind of is not as popular as some of the bigger parks. And these animals have maybe something wrong with them. Maybe they're getting older. Maybe they've lost a tusk and are not necessarily the most popular of dinosaurs to go visit. So we watch the zookeepers as they take care of these animals, but also try to build up the park so more people will come to see the animals. We do also kind of follow the zookeepers' pasts, where some of them have had slightly a Jurassic Park experience. So if you want a little bit of Jurassic Park, that is a little bit in here as well. And because it had that Jurassic Park feel, and I really did enjoy following this manga series, and I'm definitely going to be continuing, I gave the first 2 4 stars, and this one 3.5. There was a little bit of stuff going on in here that didn't capture my attention as much as the first 2, but I still am really enjoying this manga series. The next manga I read, we are going to talk about very, very swiftly because I actually DNF'd it on page 10. And you'd think, Brittany, why are you mentioning it then? But there's a reason, because I need to talk to you about why this book horrified me to no end. And that manga is Made in Abyss Volume 1. I was looking for sci-fi manga. You know I want to read more sci-fi this year. This was on a list of top sci-fi manga. I maybe should have done a bit more research than that, but since it was on a couple of lists, I felt like that was a good thing to try. By page 10, We are following children in this book. Please keep that in mind. There is a drawing of a naked child in this book. I immediately closed the book and was horrified, especially with the amount of sexualized content that was connected to it. So the two things, I was like, absolutely not. Both of these are very hard passes, obviously. Like, what the heck is going on? I went and looked at 1-star reviews because I was like, why does anyone love this? What is happening here? And found out that is not even the only instance of something like this in this series and in this book. So I immediately closed it and DNF'd it, but it does count for my 30 and 30 because we are counting DNFs. So that is my spiel about why I was horrified by this book and immediately closed it and shall not be opening it again. Thankfully, immediately following that, I picked up another manga, which actually ended up being a 5-star, and that was Our Dining Table. This was such a beautiful book, and it was such a breath of fresh air that I desperately needed. Yutaka doesn't have really a lot of people he's connected with. He's not really close to his family, and he's eating in a park alone on his lunch break. All of a sudden, this little boy, Tane, comes up to him and starts kind of making conversation. He's trying to figure out where Tane's parents are. Where is the person watching this child? Eventually, Minoru does show up, who is Tane's older brother, and is like, why did you run away from me? You're not supposed to talk to strangers, etc., etc. But they form a friendship in this park, and they start sharing meals together and bonding together over a love of cooking and food and coming together around food. And eventually, we do have a relationship between our two older characters. This book, I really loved the found family aspect in it. I really enjoyed the look of bonding around dinner and family dinner and eating together and enjoying a meal together. And also, for some reason, and I think it was just how wholesome this was and just the way it was like a graphic novel and had those vibes, it really made me feel the same way I felt when I was reading Heartstopper, which is high praise. Absolutely, highly recommend. 5 stars for Our Dining Table. And that is the last manga I read or opened yesterday. So we are going to continue on from there with our 30 and 30. But I'll chat with you next time I finish something.
'Cause this is what you got me saying.
Over the last few days, I have been reading Laid Back Camp Volume 1, 2, and 3. This is the 3rd volume. I gave volumes 1 and 2 3 stars. I gave this one 2. Honestly, I wasn't really sold from the very beginning. Something about this just did not work for me. We follow a group of girls who really like to camp in winter. It's a big point that they camp in winter and not in summer. And we follow them as they learn about camping. And it really goes in depth on explaining the things you need for camping. It dives in. We learn a lot. And it also really focuses on the price and the cost of camping, which I felt slightly unnecessary. Like, I know exactly how much every piece of camping equipment now costs in Japan. I was really hoping that this would have a same feel of Lumberjanes. That's why I picked it up. And unfortunately, that's not what we went with here. So I wanted to give it a few volumes before I kind of gave up on it, because I do feel like sometimes the first volume is not necessarily the best look of a manga series. So 3 volumes gives you a better overarching look of what the manga series is about. And I definitely think this is one that is just not for me. And I'm going to stop at volume 3. I finished another manga, Land of the Lustrous, volume 1. Unfortunately, this one is only going to get a 2 stars, and I will explain why. And I will try to explain what this manga is, but you will notice that I'm going to struggle explaining this story to you, and that is really why it got its 2-star rating. I was so confused during this story. It was very chaotic, and even the artwork was very chaotic. So to follow it along, I definitely struggled. So from what I got, this is a kind of different planet or a different version of our planet where all the life forms on it are made of crystals. They are human in shape, but they are made of different types of crystals. So some are diamonds, some are phosphorine, like there's different types of gems. And because of that, the people can break very easily. They like shatter. And they are also called watchers and warriors, and who they're fighting, I'm sorry, I can't tell you because that's really where I lost the plot. But that's the main idea, is that these life forms have like some sort of way to be together made of gems. They do talk about the Lunarians, which seem to be kind of their enemy, which I assume are somehow living on a moon, just based to their name. But again, I understood very little of this. The reason I picked this up was it was sci-fi. I've been trying to find sci-fi manga I love, and I think I need to give up. I don't like sci-fi manga. I like slice of life manga. We need to just come to terms with it and realize sci-fi manga is not for me. I like sci-fi books. It does not translate over to manga. That's okay. I will just stick to slice of life manga from now on, because I've just learned. Sci-fi manga, everyone that I've tried so far, not my favorite. Let's move on. I think I'm gonna go read some Spy Family. I really need something that I know I'm going to like. I just wanna have a cozy day with my manga today. So I think Spy Family is gonna be exactly what I need. Since the last time I talked to you, I read Spy Family 8 and Spy Family 9. I love Spy Family, so I knew I would love these, and I gave them both 4 stars. These ones were really interesting because at the end of the last book, we saw that our family was going on a cruise because Yor had a mission that she had to accomplish, and the family was just going to go on the cruise with her, and she was going to try and like hide what she was doing from them. Because of this, we actually saw a lot more of Yor's story and Yor's business as an assassin. We've seen glimpses of that, but I do feel like the earlier series really follows Twilight's missions more than Yor's. So that was really interesting to follow that side of this story a bit more deeply. Also, because they are on this cruise as a family and Twilight really isn't on a mission other than to be a family man to complete his overall mission, we see Twilight and Anya really start bonding on this cruise, and it was really cute to see these like family moments happening. The cruise is the entirety of book 8 and it is some of book 9. And then we see them kind of come back home and start doing the stuff they always do with the school and that overall big mission as a family. Spy Families always win for me, so that's not shocking that I love these. So over the last few days, I have been working on the manga Cat Plus Gamer. I read volumes 1 and volume 2. This follows Riko. Riko is an office worker and she also loves to game, and she is a big gamer. She runs out of work at the end of the day to game every night and every weekend. One day, a stray cat is found in her office's parking lot and she decides to volunteer to take the cat home. And she starts kind of taking care of the cat like it is a video game and trying to level up her cat. And it is so cute in the way it's written because we get like a chapter from Riko's perspective, and then we get a chapter from the cat's perspective of what we just saw happen in the chapter before that. The cat's chapters are like 1 page, they're very short, but I do really like seeing it from the cat's perspective of what the cat was thinking in those instances. I gave both of these 4 stars, and I will definitely be continuing with this manga. I think if nothing else, we have found out that cat manga is definitely something that I enjoy. Then I also read Your Lie in April yesterday. This follows 2 high school students while they kind of come together and get to know each other through music. One of them is a piano prodigy, one of them is great with the violin, and unfortunately, due to circumstances, the one who plays piano has given up playing piano. It seems like he had kind of a very interesting and not necessarily healthy relationship with his mother. His mother passed away, and it did kind of cause him to back away from the piano. But he does miss it. So when our violin player needs somebody to accompany her at her recital, she kind of forces him into it. And that's about where this one ends. I don't know if I'm going to continue with this one though. I wasn't as captivated by this as I would have hoped to be, and I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad. I just felt it was very YA, and for me, if a book really leans super into high school stuff, I don't necessarily love it. It has to be done a really specific way for me to want to continue with that.
This is what you got me saying.
So on Thursday, I was on sprints and I did a big catch up on 30 and 30 day. I was a few books behind, so I decided to breeze through some and catch up. The day before, I had read Fruit Basket Volumes 2, and that day I read Fruit Baskets Volume 3. Volume 2, I gave 3.5 stars. This one I gave 3. This follows the Suma family, and they are attached to the Chinese zodiac and can turn into the animals of the zodiac. I enjoyed the first book when I read it a few months ago. I think I gave it 4 stars. And as you can see, they've kind of deteriorated as I've gone. And I can't really put my finger on why it's gone down. I'm just not as interested as I was hoping I would be as I went through the series. So I think even though I know this is beloved for a lot of people, I think I'm going to stop at volume 3. Then I read Witch Hat Atelier Kitchen, and this was so cute and makes me want to go and read the original series of Witch Hat Atelier. This follows 2 witches who seem to teach at a school for young witches, and we follow them as they kind of make lunches and suppers and snacks for the girls. So this is kind of a cookbook manga. At the end of each kind of chapter, there is the actual recipe that they used. Since I enjoy cooking, I did find this quite fun and gave it 4 stars. Then I read Given Volume 1. This follows a group of high school students as they come together to form a boy band. This definitely did cover some heavier topics, including some themes of loss, losing someone who is very close to you, so please keep that in mind. And I did really enjoy watching the boys come together in this series. I'm interested to see where it goes, and I gave it 4 stars. Everyone, yesterday on day 28 of 30 in 30, I spent the day binging manga and I have finished 30 in 30. Technically, I did it in 28, so I did 30 in 28. The reason I kind of went a little bit ahead of the game was because I'm starting a readathon this week and I just kind of wanted to be done this challenge so I could focus in on that readathon. So let's dive into the final 4 manga I read for 30 in 30. I read Volume 1 of Moriarty the Patriot. This follows Sherlock Holmes' nemesis Moriarty. We meet him as a child. We see how he kind of became the Moriarty that he is. And then we see him as an adult as he kind of fights against the British aristocracy while murdering high-paying nobles and high people of nobility while kind of helping people of lower status. We see 3 murders that Moriarty commits throughout the book, and each chapter is its own murder. And eventually we know Moriarty as the nemesis of Sherlock Holmes. This one took me a second to get into, but once Moriarty was an adult, I actually really did like this, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Then I ended up getting Pokemon Journeys Volume 4 in from the library. This is the last book in the Pokemon Journeys manga. I read the 3 earlier in this video, so I won't go too deeply into this one, but I did enjoy this just as much as the others and gave it 4 stars. Our penultimate manga was Natsumi Book of Friends. This follows Natsumi as he inherits his grandmother's Book of Friends. This book is where his grandmother actually took demons' names and put them in a book so that they were forced to basically do her bidding. These demons are now following Natsumi, trying to get their names back, and Natsumi decides that's a great idea. I'm just going to give them their names back. I want to kind of fix this situation that has come down that my grandmother created. I will give them their names back, and we follow him as he gives the demons their names back. This was actually really, really interesting. It was fun to meet like all the different demons and see Natsumi go through this process. And I gave this one 4 stars as well. And lastly, I read a sequel to a manga I read earlier last year that I absolutely adored, and that was My Brother's Husband, Volume 2. I loved the first book in this series. I gave it 5 stars. This one was also great. I gave this one 4. In the first book, we follow Mike, whose husband has died, and he is going to Japan and finding his husband's family. His husband's family was not really sure about gay marriage because it is illegal in Japan, and it takes them a second to kind of accept Roiji, who is the husband who has died, and Mike. But once they do, Mike is brought into the fold, and it is a really cute 3-week vacation as we watch Mike in Japan. In the first book, we see the first part of the vacation. In the second book, we see the rest of the part. It does end with Mike going back to Canada. And I just love this book. Kana is my favorite character. She's the little girl on the cover. And I gave this one 4.5 stars. It wasn't as good as the first, but I still really enjoyed this, and I highly recommend this manga series. But that is the end of 30 manga in 30 days. I think we kind of saw as we went through this that I like slice of life manga. I tried some other types, but they're just not my thing. Slice of life, that's where I'm at with manga. And if you know of any manga that you think I would like, please let me know down in the comments, because even though I read a lot of manga. I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning what I like. I'm still trying to find my footing in this manga world. So I would love more recommendations, especially based off what you know I enjoyed of the 30 that I read. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.